The attic smelled of dust and forgotten time, a scent I'd always associated with Christmas decorations and old photo albums. But the moment my fingers closed around the cold, hard corner of the metal box, hidden beneath a loose floorboard, the air crackled with a different kind of history. A secret. I pulled it out, my heart hammering against my ribs. It was a soldier's lockbox, rusted at the hinges, and on the front, almost faded to nothing, were initials that weren't my grandpa's. As I pried it open, the first thing I saw was a photograph of a woman I'd never seen before, her eyes full of a love that was clearly not for my grandmother. That was the moment my world, the world my grandpa had built for all of us, began to dissolve. If you love stories that unravel the past, please subscribe to our new channel. We share captivating new confessions like this every day, and your support means the world. My name is Alex. I'm 24, working a pretty standard graphic design job, and my passion has always been history, specifically my family's history. I was the kid who begged for stories, the one who could sit for hours while Grandpa Arthur spun tales of his youth. He was my hero, a decorated soldier from the war, a devoted husband to my late Grandma Rose, a man who taught me how to fish and how to be kind. He passed away 2 months ago, peacefully in his sleep, leaving a legacy of love, integrity, and gentle humor. Or so I thought. His will left the house to my mom, but he'd left a personal note for me, his fellow historian. It just said, "Everything you need to know is where the cold gets in." It was a puzzle, a final game from a man who loved them. It took me weeks to figure it out. The drafty spot in the attic floor. The box contained a world I didn't recognize. Beneath the photograph of the strange, beautiful woman was a stack of letters, tied with a faded blue ribbon. The handwriting was elegant, feminine, and they were all addressed to my dearest Leo. Not Arthur. Leo. My hands trembled as I opened the first one. The paper was so fragile, I was terrified it would turn to dust. My dearest Leo, it began. The days without you are a string of silent prayers. I search for your face in every crowd, hoping to see your smile, the one that promises everything will be all right. The letter was dated 1945, from a town in France I'd never heard of. I spent the rest of the night reading them, my heart aching with a story that wasn't mine, yet felt like a betrayal. This woman, Isabel, wrote of a passionate, whirlwind romance with an American soldier named Leo. They had planned a future. She was pregnant. My first call was to my older sister, Chloe. She's a lawyer, practical to a fault. A box of old letters? Alex, you're romanticizing it, she said, her voice full of that familiar, fond exasperation. Soldiers had flings during the war. It doesn't mean anything. She was pregnant, Chloe. And he called himself Leo. Why would he use a different name? Maybe it was a nickname, a code name. Who knows? It was 70 years ago. Let it go. Mom's already having a hard enough time. But I couldn't let it go. It felt like a betrayal to Grandma Rose's memory. They had been the perfect couple, the gold standard of love in our family. Was it all a lie? I looked at the photograph of Isabel again. She wasn't just a fling. The love in her eyes was a tangible thing, a force of nature. What do you think? If you found something like this, would you keep digging, or would you protect the memory of the person you thought you knew? Let me know in the comments. The next clue was in the box itself, tucked into a side pocket I almost missed. A single, tarnished silver locket. Inside there was a tiny, professionally cut photo of Grandpa. No, of * Leo in his uniform, looking younger than I'd ever seen him. On the other side was a microscopic picture of Isabel. And etched on the back, so faintly I had to use a magnifying glass, were 3 words. Toujours et à jamais. Always and forever. My French is rusty, but I knew what that meant. This wasn't a fling, this was a promise. The name on the uniform in the photo was different too. It wasn't Arthur Miller. It was Leo Vance. A deep, chilling fear started to creep in. This wasn't just a hidden romance. This was a hidden identity. I spent the next week in a frenzy of late-night research. My graphic design projects all but forgotten. I searched military archives, ancestry websites, anything I could find. Arthur Miller, my grandpa, had a clean, verifiable record. A war hero, honorably discharged. But Leo Vance? He barely existed. There was one record, a military enlistment form from a young man in a neighboring state. But the trail went cold right after the war. It was like he had vanished. Or been erased. My mom, Sarah, found me one night, surrounded by papers, my laptop screen glowing with black and white photos of soldiers. She put a cup of tea on my desk. "You look like you're fighting the war all over again," she said gently. Her eyes were puffy, and I knew she was still grieving. I felt a pang of guilt. Was I dishonoring my grandpa by doing this? "I found something, Mom," I said, my voice hoarse. "In the attic." I told her everything. About the box, the letters, the locket, the name. I expected her to be angry, to accuse me of spinning fantasies like Chloe did. Instead, she just sat there, her face pale, her hands wrapped tightly around her teacup. Then she whispered something that made my blood run cold. "The nightmares," she said. "All my life, he had nightmares. He would call out a name in his sleep sometimes. It sounded like Leo." We were in it together now. My practical sister still thought we were crazy, but my mom and I felt a desperate need to understand the man who had been the center of our world. We found a small, leather-bound journal at the bottom of the box, one I had missed in my initial shock. The entries were sparse, written in my grandpa's familiar scrawl, but the dates were from just after the war. He wrote of guilt, of a promise he couldn't keep. "I made a choice," one entry read. "I chose a life, a name, but the other one follows me, a shadow in the daylight." Another, more cryptic entry simply said, "The bridge at midnight." He took my face, and I took his freedom. What could that possibly mean? He took my face? It sounded like something out of a spy novel. The pieces were swirling, creating a picture of a man I didn't know at all. A man named Leo Vance who became Arthur Miller. But why? Who was the real Arthur Miller? We hit a wall. A 70-year-old wall of secrets. The journal mentioned a town, Oakhaven, a place we'd never heard him speak of. A quick search showed it was a tiny, forgotten town a few states over. It felt like a pilgrimage we had to make. Before we left, I met up with my best friend, Ben, for coffee. He's a journalist, and his mind works in headlines and hooks. "So, your grandpa was a secret agent?" he asked, leaning forward, his eyes wide. "I don't know what he was," I admitted, stirring my latte, "but he wasn't the man we thought he was. And I need to know why. I feel like if I don't, I'm letting Isabel down. And maybe him, too." "Be careful, Alex," Ben said, his tone shifting from excited to serious. "People build new lives for a reason. Sometimes the past is buried for a good one." The drive to Oakhaven was quiet, filled with a heavy mix of anticipation and dread. It was a place that time had forgotten, with a single main street and buildings that looked like they hadn't changed since the 1940s. We started at the local library, a dusty old building run by a woman who seemed as ancient as the books she curated. We told her we were researching our family history. We asked about the name Vance. Her eyes lit up with recognition. "The Vance boy?" "Oh, that's a sad story," she said, leaning over the counter. "Leo Vance. Such a handsome, bright young man. Went off to war and never came back. His family was devastated. They said he was killed in action, but his body was never recovered. His best friend, though, he made it back. Arthur Miller." The world tilted on its axis. Arthur Miller. My grandpa. He was from this town. He was Leo Vance's best friend. The librarian continued, oblivious to the bomb she had just dropped. Arthur was never the same after the war. Quiet. Haunted. He left town not long after he got back. Said there were too many ghosts here. We all assumed he was talking about Leo. My mom gripped my arm, her knuckles white. We walked out of the library in a daze. It wasn't a secret identity in the way I'd imagined. It was something more complicated, more tragic. My grandpa hadn't stolen a stranger's life. He had taken his best friends. But why? We went to the town hall, and with some gentle persuasion and a story about a lost family inheritance, we got a look at the public records from that time. And there it was. A death certificate for Arthur Miller issued by the Army dated 1945, and an enlistment form for Leo Vance, with a picture of my grandpa. He hadn't taken his friend's name. His was Leo Vance. The real Arthur Miller, his best friend, was the one who died in the war. But the Army had mixed them up. They had misidentified the body. Leo Vance, my grandpa, came home under his dead friend's name, and he just kept it. The final piece of the puzzle clicked into place back at my grandpa's house, in a place so obvious we had never thought to look. We were going through his old Army uniform, preserved in a garment bag in the back of his closet, getting ready to donate it. As my mom lifted it, a small, folded piece of paper fell out of the breast pocket. It was a telegram, brittle with age. It was addressed to Arthur Miller at his family's address in Oak Haven. Regret to inform you, Leo Vance, killed in action. Your heroism in attempting to save him has been noted. We mistook. Come home, soldier. They knew. The Army knew they'd made a mistake. They knew Leo Vance was alive and Arthur Miller was dead. They had tried to correct it. But my grandpa, for whatever reason, chose to live as Arthur. Why? The answer, I think, was in Isabel's letters. She was pregnant. He was a young man, facing an impossible choice. Perhaps coming home as Arthur Miller, the war hero, was easier than coming home as Leo Vance, the man who had to face a future he wasn't ready for with a woman in a foreign country. Or maybe it was survivor's guilt. Maybe he felt he didn't deserve to be Leo Vance anymore, that his friend deserved to have his name live on. He chose a life of quiet atonement, living as his friend, honoring his memory by being a good man. He married Grandma Rose, a woman he truly came to love, and he built a family. He locked away Leo Vance and Isabel and the child he never met. The emotional climax of this whole journey wasn't loud. It was a quiet moment, sitting there on the floor of my grandpa's bedroom with my mom, the telegram lying between us. The anger I'd felt, the sense of betrayal, it all just melted away. It was replaced by a profound, heartbreaking empathy. He wasn't a liar. He was a man who had been shaped by a tragedy we could never imagine, who made a choice as a boy and spent a lifetime living with it. He had carried this immense secret, this heavy guilt, for 70 years, all while being the kind, loving man we knew. Before you read the end, if this story has touched you, please consider subscribing. We're trying to build a community around stories that matter, and every single one of you helps. The final letter from Isabel was different from the others. It was dated a year after the war ended. My dearest Leo, it said, I know you are not coming back. I have to accept that. I have named our son after you. He is beautiful, and he has your smile. I will tell him his father was a hero who died fighting for freedom. It is a kinder story than the truth, which is that you simply disappeared. I will love you always, but I must let you go now. Goodbye. Isabel. He had a son. A family in France. A whole other life that ran parallel to ours. A ghost limb he must have felt every single day. My mom and I decided not to tell Chloe. She wouldn't understand. This was a secret for us to carry now. A final bond with a man of two names. The story doesn't end with a neat resolution. We haven't tried to find our French relatives. Maybe one day we will. But for now, it feels like we're protecting my grandpa's peace. A peace he fought so hard to build on a foundation of loss. His secret life doesn't diminish the man he was to us. It makes him infinitely more complex, more human. He wasn't just Grandpa Arthur, the kind man who taught me to fish. He was also Leo Vance, the young soldier who loved a French girl, who lost his best friend, and who carried a ghost inside him for a lifetime. He lived a life of quiet sacrifice, and in a way, uncovering his secret was the final act of setting him free. What makes a life? Is it the name we're given, or the one we choose? Is it the secrets we keep, or the love we give? He was my grandpa, and I loved him. And now I know him. Share your thoughts and theories in the comments. Can we ever truly know the people we love?